Good afternoon to you. I hope that you're doing well today. If you're not coming back to worship with us, we miss you. I miss you. Last week in my Sunday morning lesson at the end, I said, if you haven't been around, call me. And I've had some people call me, and it's been good to catch up with people that I haven't seen in months. So if you're one of those people and you haven't called me, call me, or call one of the elders, or call Rodney, or call somebody. We miss you, and we miss talking to you, and we miss knowing what's going on in your life. So call me. Today we're going to be in the book of Joshua. We're going to be looking at Joshua, his person and who he was. So go with me first to Joshua chapter 1. And right now we're going to read verses 1 through 9. Joshua chapter 1, verses 1 through 9. And it says, After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, into the land that I am giving to them, to the people of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you, just as I promised to Moses. From the wilderness and this Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, to the great sea, toward the going down of the sun shall be your territory. No man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. Just as I was with Moses, so will I be with you. I will not leave you or forsake you. Be strong and courageous, for you shall cause this people to inherit the land that I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be strong and very courageous, being careful to do according to all the law that Moses my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may have good success wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Here we read that Moses has died, the man who had taken the Israelites out of Egypt, who had led them in the wilderness for 40 years, is gone. So the leader, the one who had direct contact with God, is not there. So God looks at Joshua and he says, you're going to lead the people now. You're going to be the person that leads them into the promised land. I look at this, and I look at this great commission and this great task that Joshua has been given. And I ask, how did we get here? Why was Joshua the person that was chosen? At this point, there are well over 1 million people in the land of Israel. That's a lot of people to choose from. I think of Lawrenceburg and how choosing one man out of Lawrenceburg would be hard to lead the people. But I think of 1 million people and you narrow it down to one. Why was Joshua that man? Why was Joshua that person? And there's 2 reasons why. The first reason is we have to go back to the book of Numbers. Numbers chapter 14. Numbers chapter 14, and we'll look at verses 5 through 9. Numbers 14, verses 5 through 9. And it says, Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the people of Israel. And Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes and said to all the congregation of the people of Israel, The land which we passed through to spy it out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, He will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not fear the people of this land, for they are bread for us. Their protection is removed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them. Years before, 40 years before, Joshua was sent in as a spy into the land of Canaan. And him and Caleb were the only ones to come out and say, you know what? I think we can take these people. The other 10 said that they couldn't. But they said, you know what? With our God, being as powerful as he is, I know that we can take them. I know that we can take this land. That's the first reason why Joshua was chosen. The second reason, you go back to Joshua chapter 1 and verse 1, it says, said to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant. So, number one, he had faith in God 40 years ago. And number two, he had become Moses' assistant. He had become his helper. I think of Joshua and how he was a man that wanted to be close to God. And the only way to be close to God was to be close to the one who talked to God directly, who is Moses. So that's why Joshua was chosen to lead the people of Israel. So we figured out why he was chosen. So let's look at what he did while he was in power. Let's look at what he did while he was leading. Go with me to Joshua chapter 24. We're going to go all the way to the end of the chapter. Joshua 24, and let's look at verses 14 through 15. Now therefore, fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in faithfulness. Put away the gods that your fathers served beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. And if it is evil in your eyes to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your fathers served in the region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And this is a verse that is put on home decor, and a lot of people know this verse. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua and his leadership made sure that, number one, his family was going to be with him in serving God. And he told the people, you have to make a choice. Either you can serve the gods of Egypt, the gods of the Amorites, or you can choose the one true living God. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't let them choose option C. It was either you're in or you're out. You're for God or you're against God. And that's how he led the people. Now that's what he did during his service, during his leadership. So let's look at Joshua's legacy. Let's look at maybe what happened at the end of his life and maybe after his life. Go with me to the very end of chapter 24, Joshua chapter 24, and we'll look at verses 29 and then jump down to verse 31. Verse 29 and then verse 31. 29 says, After these things, Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old. And down to 31. And this is amazing to me, that this is written about Joshua and his leadership. Verse 31. Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua and had known all the work that the Lord did for Israel. Over 1 million people, all of Israel, served God while Joshua was in power. To say that is amazing. Think of leaders now and how things can be very divided. You can have people switching sides of any type of leadership. People that fall out, people that come and go. They're so wishy-washy. And it says here that Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua. And not only that, all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua. So Joshua's leadership didn't end when he ended, when his life ended, but even years to come, even years after that. So Joshua had three different, I like to break him down into three different stages. He had his younger years, when he was sent in as a spy. A lot of biblical scholars believe that he was between the ages of 30 and 50, probably putting him at between 43 and 45 years old. So thinking about him as a young man and then being asked to be a spy, he was asked because they knew he was a man who believed in God. He was a man that trusted in God. And we saw that with his testimony after being sent in as a spy, saying, you know what? With God, we can overtake these people. And I think of when Moses died, he's more, his middle age going up to being an older man. They believe that Joshua was between anywhere from 70 to 90, with the age around 83 to 85 when Moses died. So he was fairly old when he took leadership. And I think of that and how he led God's people. And I think of his middle age between 40 and 80 and how he was Moses' assistant. How he was learning from Moses, being around him all the time. And then when he was in his 80s and he was asked to lead, he was ready. He was ready to bring people closer to God or to lead them towards God. And I think of those three categories, young, believing in God, trusting in God, middle age, following Moses, and Moses maybe being his mentor, and then in his older years, him leading, him bringing people to God. And I ask myself, where do I fit in that category? Where's my faith? Is my faith just thinking about myself, just thinking about my faith, thinking about my belief in God? Am I trying to learn from other Christians? We have some older members here at this congregation that have great wisdom, and I've learned a lot from them. Or am I on the third stage, the stage of leading people, either leading people to Jesus or leading people who know Jesus to a better relationship with him? And what's amazing about this is that it's not defined by my age. I'm sure it's affected by my age. I'm sure if Joshua was a 20-year-old man, he wouldn't have been asked to lead Israel. And thinking about elders and deacons, you don't ask teenagers to be elders or deacons. It's literally in the word elder, as in like older. You don't ask a young man to do that. So it's definitely affected by that, but it's not defined by that. And this is what I mean. It saddens me sometimes to see someone who has been a Christian 30, 40, 50 years, and they're in that first stage. Yes, they believe in God, and they know his power, but they're not learning from anyone else, or they haven't learned from anyone else. And even more so than that, they're not bringing other people to Jesus. They're not leading anyone else. And that makes me a little sad that sometimes we have people, older people, with a young person's faith. But also, what's amazing about that is I've seen teenagers, I've seen people in high school, get to the point to where they're good in their faith and they've learned from other people and they're leading other people to Jesus. Whether it be their friends that don't know Jesus or people in the church that need encouragement, even though they're in their teenage years, they're leading them. So my question for all of us today and for myself is, where do I fit in? Where is my life right now? Yes, I'm 23 years old, but where is my spiritual age? Am I just thinking about my own faith? Am I struggling with my own faith? Have I passed that? Have I gone past that and now seeking wisdom from others? Or am I to the point to where I'm leading other people to Jesus Christ? And I think that's a question that we all have to ask ourselves. The last thought that I have today is, let's go back to verse 31 of Joshua chapter 24. It says, Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua and had known all the work that the Lord did for Israel. Joshua had a legacy. His leadership affected everyone while he was alive, but it surpassed him in that his leadership and his wanting to bring people to God and have a closer relationship with God, even after he died, there were lasting effects of that. In my ministry, I wonder if there are any lasting effects. I wonder if I'm leading people to Christ in a way that will affect eternity. And I ask that of you. In your ministry, are you affecting people's eternity? Will you have a legacy of leading people to Jesus, just as Joshua did? That's my challenge for us this week. My challenge for all of us this week is to figure out where we are. Are we working on our own faith? Are we good with that? And then asking mentors, hey, how can I do better? What have you done? Or have I gotten to the point to where I'm bringing other people to Jesus? I pray that we all analyze ourselves and where we are, and we all ask ourselves, what will our spiritual legacy be? Not a business or not financial. Yes, it's good to leave children with money or businesses or land, but in reality, that's not worth anything in the grand scheme of things. So what is our spiritual legacy? Thank you, and like I said, if you need anything, please call me. We love you, and we miss you.